prominent progressive filmmaker Michael Moore has boldly predicted that Trump is toast in the upcoming election. The director of Fahrenheit 9/11 made the declaration on MSNBC Sunday, speaking on the state of the race and how he believes his home state of Michigan will play a part. Moore, a Democrat, correctly predicted the 2016 election, but told host Ayman Mohyeldin this time around Trump will likely lose. He added how Trump supporters would be surprised at the result, despite just days ago warning how Harris could lose the race if she does not embrace a ceasefire in Israel and demand the return of all hostages held by Hamas. At the time, the Bowling for Columbine creator said Harris could lose Michigan, but on Sunday sang a different tune as he insisted the Democrat would pull off a win.
The threat of violence. We are okay to disagree with each other, but that's where it ends. We go to vote. Who wins, wins. Half the time I've been very happy with who's won, and the other half of the time I haven't been. And we move on with our lives. The fact that the way that what you just played here, I hadn't heard Trump utter those words. I'd heard somebody say that he said them, but to hear him say that about they can shoot through the media, the assassins, go ahead and fire, and all those other things you just played. It's like they really believe that the average normal American wants to hear that. They actually believe that we don't like immigrants. We are immigrants. We are all the children and grandchildren and great-grandchildren of immigrants, unless you are African American or unless you're amongst the first peoples that were here. We are all the product of immigrants, and we love our grandparents and our great-grandparents and the people that got us here to this great country. And to talk about immigrants in this vicious, vile way, where and you think of all the things that we have and we've given the world, and the anger and hatred toward Muslims and Arabs. Steve Jobs. I mean, this never gets discussed. Maybe I'm just a trivia nerd, but he's born of Muslim parents. His parents were Arab, and they put him up for adoption. They had to put him up for adoption, and was adopted by the Jobs family.
Yeah.
But I wouldn't be talking to you maybe on this device right now in this way without this offspring of a Muslim or an Arab. And I think most Americans, we get down on our knees and thank God that we are the children of immigrants, that we built this country with immigrants. And the fact that we have somewhere, depending on what numbers you want to believe in, somewhere between 9 million and 11 million jobs right now that we do not have enough people to fill. We have upwards to 11 million unfilled jobs, and as we are told, we have maybe 11 million immigrants who aren't here legally. Geez, doesn't that just, if you have a heart, if you have love in you, if you're proud of this country that was built by immigrants, doesn't somewhere in your head go, geez, we need 11 million jobs filled. We have 11 million people that need citizenship. Why don't we go there? Well, I do, and I think a lot of people are like me, and I think that they are going to be very surprised. I'm talking about the Trump people and the MAGA nation by what's going to happen on Tuesday. Not only do I feel, to answer your question 10 minutes later, that I feel the same way that I felt a few weeks ago that Trump is toast. Absolutely. I feel it more. Now, I know I don't want to say it too loudly because our work isn't done.
Right.
We all have doors to knock on tomorrow. We all have to make sure we get people to vote. I've asked everybody to think of 3 people that maybe they know at work or school or whatever that aren't going to vote. To get them to the polls, drive them to the polls, take them to lunch afterwards, have a party after work, after you've taken the office to go vote. We have work to do in these 48 hours. But having said that, I'm very optimistic and hopeful. And frankly, and I know people watching this, Mike, how can you say that?
Yeah.
We have all these crazy people and all the Trumpsters and MAGA Nation. And what I say to them is, honestly, I have a lot of personal, deep faith in my fellow Americans.
This was a disgrace. This was a rigged trial by a conflicted judge who was corrupt.
Eligible for what I've been able to do with the COVID. With dealing with everything we have to do with. Look.
Really see something that said, take a look at what happened.
We're effectively run in this country via the Democrats, via our corporate oligarchs, by a bunch of childless cat ladies who are miserable at their own lives and the choices that they've made, and so they want to make the rest of the country miserable too.
He and his running mate sure seem to have a lot to say about me. And by the way, don't you find some of their stuff to just be plain weird?
She was always of Indian heritage, and she was only promoting Indian heritage. I didn't know she was black until a number of years ago when she happened to turn black, and now she wants to be known as black.
I had an old bike in my car that somebody asked me to get rid of it. I said, let's go put the bear in Central Park and we'll make it look like he got hit by a bike.
What we really need is a feminine phenomenon. A what? A feminine phenomenon.
Because none of us just live in a silo. Everything is in context. My mother she would give us a hard time sometimes, and she would say to us, I don't know what's wrong with you young people. You think you just fell out of a coconut tree?
And I got to tell you, I can't wait to debate the guy. That is, if he's willing to get off the couch and show up. So.
And just a random assortment of stuff here. How long are you working?
I've been here since the beginning of July.
Okay.
In Springfield, they're eating the dogs, the people that came in. They're eating the cats. They're eating the pets of the people that live there.
Taylor Swift just endorsed Kamala Harris. Taylor Swift, yeah.
Is the only reason we can now send American presidents. Never touches the human hand. Nice and full.
It is clear from John Kelly's words that Donald Trump is someone who, I quote, certainly falls into the general definition of fascist.
I don't know if you guys know this, but there's literally a floating island of garbage in the middle of the ocean right now. Yeah. I think it's called Puerto Rico.
Or Puerto Rico, where I'm in my home state of Delaware. They're good, decent, honorable people. The only garbage I see floating out there is his supporters.
In order to make America great and glorious again, I am tonight announcing my candidacy for President of the United States.
That's why I'm running for re-election.
This was a disgrace. This was a rigged trial by a conflicted judge who was corrupt.
Eligible for what I've been able to do with the with the COVID. With dealing with everything we have to do with. Look.
Really see something that said, take a look at what happened.
Nothing can come in the way of saving our democracy. That includes personal ambition. So I've decided the best way forward is to pass the torch to a new generation.
The gift that the Trump campaign keeps giving us. I don't think they realized. I don't think they really are in touch with where the majority of Americans are at more. 70 began. The majority of Americans do not want this divisiveness. They don't want a threat of violence, he insisted. We are okay to disagree with each other, but that's where it ends. First conceding either outcome is not the end of the world. He went on to tell Mohiuldin that he thinks MAGA are going to be very surprised. I'm talking about the Trump people and the MAGA nation. By what is going to happen on Tuesday, he explained further, before openly declaring, I feel that Trump is toast. Absolutely. I feel it more now. I don't want to say it too loudly as our work isn't done more, quickly added. With election day only hours away, we all have to make sure we get people to vote. The man whose last major work was 2018's anti-Trump doc Fahrenheit 11/9 proceeded to urge people to the polls. telling them to think of 3 people that maybe they know at work or school or whatever that aren't going to vote, to get them to the polls, drive there. We have work to do in these 48 hours, but having said that, I'm very optimistic and hopeful, he continued, before mentioning how he believes Americans in Michigan will end up voting blue. Frankly, I know people watching this say, Mike, how can you say that he added of such a prospect? We have all these crazy people and Trump, Richard Stearns and MAGA Nation, and what I say to them is obviously, I have a lot of personal, deep faith in my fellow Americans. Election day is on Tuesday,